Part 128. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1271. Chapter 1271 Mr. Tang's illegitimate daughter 3. Right? Right? At this moment, Qian Yuman was not even sure about herself. Qian Yuman's heart was hanging in mid-air. When her eyes fell on that evil handsome face, her heart instantly sank to the bottom. All the expectations, all the longings, and all the luck in my heart were instantly thrown to the ground, severely disliked, and subjected to the most brutal abuse. The smile on her face disappeared without a trace in an instant. The father of the little girl Ruru not far away is none other than Mr. Tang, whom Qian Yuman has been thinking about for a long time. This time he came to the magic city to meet. She just came to have a meal and went to look for him when she was full. Unexpectedly, fate played a trick on him and they met him outside by chance. But she didn't want a chance encounter at all, and she didn't want this kind of chance encounter at all, this kind of heart-wrenching chance encounter. Tang Yuj, who came to see Ruru, smiled kindly, bent down and held the little guy in his arms, whispering nice words. The little girl Ruru kept complaining, so he kept coaxing her, holding her as carefully as if she were holding a treasure. The smile on his face was also very kind. He was talking and laughing with Ruru, and sat opposite Murong 11, while Ruru sat next to him. "Daddy, I really miss you." Ruru hugged Tang Yuj's arm and acted coquettishly. "Daddy also misses Ruru." Tang Yuj rubbed the little guy's head. "Then Daddy, do you miss Mommy?" Tang Yuj glanced at Murong 11 sitting opposite and nodded naturally. "Daddy wants it too. Daddy, give me a kiss." The porcelain doll raised its head with a happy smile on its pink face. Tang Yuj simply responded, bending down and leaning his face towards Ruru. Ruru happily hugged Tang Yuj's face and kissed him the face. "Haha, today's daddy is Ruru again." The little girl waved and grabbed her happily, very happy. As for Qian Yuman, after Tang Yuj and Ruru sat down, she timidly squatted down and hid herself under the table, not daring to let Tang Yuj see her. "How so? How so?" Tears instantly moistened Qian Yuman's eyes. Big tears kept falling from her beautiful eyes, and the deep sadness could not be dissipated in her eyes. Why is this happening? These are the countless questions Qian Yuman has in mind. The moment Tang Yuj appeared, her whole world was about to collapse. She had just made a bunch of excuses for Tang Yuj, thinking that he could not be the little girl's father, but reality gave her a hard slap in the face. Tell her to face reality. Mr. Tang actually has a daughter, and she is with Murong 11. Who can tell her what's going on? The most embarrassing thing for her was that as his girlfriend, she didn't dare to rush over to question him. She even crouched down to avoid him, fearing that Mr. Tang would see her. Why did she do this? She doesn't actually know. There was a voice in her heart telling herself that if she went there, they might stop here, but should she pretend that she didn't know about it? She couldn't do it, she couldn't act like she didn't know about it. Did Tang Yuj lie to her? He was actually married a long time ago. "Manman, what's wrong with you?" Wang Tianyu knelt down and looked at Qian Yuman under the table in confusion. When he saw her tearful face, he immediately shook his hands and feet and took out a handkerchief to wipe the tears on her cheeks. Carefully. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1272. Chapter 1272 Mr. Tang's illegitimate daughter 4. God bless, I'm sorry, I have something else to do, I'll leave first. Qian Yuman shed tears, turned sideways, grabbed her bag in her hand, bent over and walked towards the door. When walking to the door, they would inevitably pass by Tang Yuj and the others. She was still holding her bag to cover her face. Just looking at them head-on from the corner of her eye, this glance made her heart beat instantly. That picture is so harmonious, they are like a family, or a family at all. Murong 11 and Tanyuj were talking and laughing. The little girl was interacting sweetly with Tanyuj, just like a family, with a father, a mother, and a daughter. This glance also made Qian Yuman feel deeply jealous. The jealousy in her heart turned into terrifying demons, making her run quickly. Her eyes turned to death with sadness, and she just wanted to escape the scene desperately. She was really envious of the interaction just now. Mr. Tang treated Ruru like a real father, which was completely different from how he interacted with little Mickey. When he was with little Mickey, Tanyuj was more like a jealous person. He thought his son was superfluous. When he saw little Mickey, he would quarrel and wanted to throw his son away. When he is with Ruru, he is like a kind father, speaking softly and holding her in the palm of his hand. The man is talented and the woman is beautiful, and they get along warmly. Qian Yuman ran away very quickly. By the time Wang Tianyu finished paying the bill, Qian Yuman's whereabouts could not be found. Qian Yuman walked on the road in despair. After successfully getting rid of Tanyuj's bodyguard, she also threw all the earrings and necklaces that Tanyuj gave her into the trash can. In this case, he will not be able to find himself. But when you think about the fact that he has a lovely wife and lovely children in the devil, why would he be thinking about you? She was very depressed, and wanted to find an outlet to vent her anger. However, walking on the street where she had not seen him for more than 3 years, looking at the dim street lights, she squatted on the road helplessly and started to cry. Tanyuj, you big bastard! Didn't you say you love me? Why did you have a daughter with Murong 11 again? Who am I? Who am I to you? Qian Yuman cried for a long time, then slowly found a bar nearby, ordered a bunch of wine, and sat in the corner drinking slowly. I was crying while drinking, looking so pitiful. Several people wanted to come over and talk to her on the way, but they were stared away by her angry eyes. Don't they see that they are very sad? However, there will be some people who think they are very charming and women are not immune to them, so they bravely step forward to chat with Qian Yuman. Hey, beauty, are you contributing pearls to the motherland? A nice voice came from the top of the head, and there was a charming charm in the voice. Anyone would fall in love with it? Qian Yuman threw an angry look with some impatience. The moment she saw the face of the visitor, her mentality completely changed. There was no way, the person in front of her who thought she was very attractive was really very attractive, with a face that was indistinguishable from male to female. The key point was that he was so handsome. She was so handsome that she only had one thought in her mind, to fall in love with this man. To the thought of falling asleep. This is definitely the most handsome man she has ever seen. Tanyuj was slightly eclipsed in front of him. His facial features and expressions were a blessing from heaven. He is simply the most handsome man in the universe. This man is a guest appearance by His Majesty. He may appear in various novels by His Majesty in the future. His purpose is to win away the female protagonist and sleep with the male protagonists. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1273. Chapter 1273, Having After Drinking? 1. He is simply the most handsome man in the universe. Why are there such beautiful men in the world? This is the first man besides Mr. Tang who wants to sleep with me. Bah, who wants to sleep with that Tanyuj? He actually dared to give birth to such an old daughter behind her back. Judging from the age, he was born not long after she left. Did he happily have with Murong 11 when he saw the divorce agreement she left behind? Even within marriage. Tanyuj, why don't you die? How about you go and die quickly? Woo woo woo. Qian Yuman just stared at the handsome guy in front of her in a daze. Hey. Although the beauty has stopped crying, why do you feel like you are not looking at me when you look at me in a daze? It hurts. The handsome guy in front of him held his little heart and muttered miserably. Huh, Qian Yuman looked at the man in confusion, thinking of the famous saying that handsome men in the world are not good people, and started to shed tears again. Tangyuj is a bastard, a rotten egg, a quail egg, and a cancer for men in the world. Beauty, why are you crying again? The handsome man in front of him frowned slightly, and everything around him was eclipsed because of him. He looked at her intently, and stretched out his fingers to gently wipe the tears on her face. Qian Yuman was panicked again. The man in front of her was so outstanding that it was easy to be distracted. She almost forgot about the sad things about Tangyuj. I'm so sad. I'm lovelorn. Qian Yuman's hand suddenly grabbed the handsome boy's paw, wiping her tears and nose on his arm to see if he would still pester him. The handsome guy in front of me not only didn't dislike him, but he also showed his enthusiasm in offering his arms. How could anyone be willing to make you sad for a beauty like you? The handsome guy in front of him coaxed her in a gentle voice. He also said interesting words to tease Qian Yuman. It didn't take long for Qian Yuman to be amused. Crying and laughing, the handsome guy named Bai Xia in front of me unknowingly told what happened to him. She herself never expected that she would talk to a stranger, a handsome guy whom she met for the first time. Qian Yuman was leaning closely against Bai Xia at this moment, grabbing him and complaining for a while. Bisha, why do you think a man is like this? Why does he have a daughter? Why didn't he tell me? Bai Xia crossed her legs, held a wine glass in her hand, and drank gracefully. Her eyes fell on the little beauty who was already a little drunk, and a playful smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Maybe I was afraid that I would leave you if you found out, so I hid it. If he knew that I would mind, why would he have children with other women? Didn't he know that I would be sad? Why would he come back to me, cling to me, and pester me, so sad, even more painful than before? At that time, at least she was not so sweet, and she was somewhat prepared, knowing that there was still someone in his heart. Even though divorce is painful, it is still bearable. But this time the pain was somewhat unbearable for her. Especially she felt that they were so happy and could live happily until old age, but found that everything seemed to be hidden. When you divorced, wasn't it because he still had Murong 11 in his heart? After divorcing you, he would naturally stay with her. Men, they can't let go when they don't get it. If they really get it, they find that it has changed, and the relationship finally broke down. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1274. Chapter 1274, Drinking and Having Sex? 2. When you divorced, wasn't it because he still had Murong 11 in his heart? After divorcing you, he would naturally stay with her. Men, they can't let go when they don't get it. If they really get it, they find that it has changed, and the relationship finally broke down. I found you in my heart, so I came back to you. If I confessed to you from the beginning, I might not have the chance to be together for 3 years, and few men can stay away from a woman. She thought that after they separated, they still missed each other, so when they met again, they would hit it off and get back together. Now it seems that everything is her own fault. So I shouldn't blame him for hiding it, is his fault just for hiding this from me, but she couldn't accept the fact that he had married another woman. Even though she is divorced now, she still can't accept it. I have a daughter. I want to be a stepmother. It's scary to think about it. Qian Yuman drank another glass of red wine in one breath, and the proud Bai Xia raised his eyes. She drinks a lot and has already drank 3 bottles of red wine. No, all this is just your calculation. You speculate that after he divorced you, he would find a new woman to marry and have children. Ugh, is there anything worse? Yes. He is actually married from the beginning to the end. They are a family of 3, and you are just a third party. What? Jian Yuman suddenly jumped up and stood up a little fast, knocking Bai Xia sideways, and the wine in his hand spilled onto her. Bixia was very calm. He placed the wine glass in question on the table, took out his handkerchief and slowly wiped the wine stains. It was a pity that the suit he had just customized was ruined. Bixia. Do you think it's very possible that I've been raped by a mistress? Jian Yuman's eyes nearly bulged out, as wide as a bell, with a look of shock on her face. Did a plot that only appears in TV dramas appear on her? Not necessarily, or there are other possibilities. Maybe he doesn't love you at all, and it's possible that he is playing tricks on you. So what you have to do now is to question him personally, which is the first thing to do after taking care of the wine stains on his body. Bai Xia, looking at the irreparable suit, he sighed softly. He wore this dress today, and all his beautiful daughters said he looked handsome. It was a pity that he finally found a dress that sincerely showed off his handsomeness. I don't dare to ask. If you ask them, they will be separated. But no matter what the outcome is, she cannot accept that he has a daughter. She is a stingy woman. She was so jealous that Murong 11 could always be by his side, and might even still be deeply loved by Tang Yuj. Who is she, Jian Yuman? When I grew up, I spent less than a year with him. Think about Murong 11 again? Since high school? Maybe he has been by his side since junior high school. Woo. She is really lovelorn. The more Jian Yuman thought about it, the sadder she became. She drank as hard as if she didn't need money. Her stomach was bloated and her head became dizzy. She fell unconscious on Bai Xia, the man she wanted to sleep with. It is said that when people are sad, it is easy to get drunk when drinking. This time she experienced it for real. And a certain woman forgot that it was just the first time that she and Bai Xia met. Looking at the woman slumped in his arms, Bai Xia's eyes flashed with interest. Bisha, what am I going to do? Just slept with all the male and female protagonists. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1275. Chapter 1275 Paternity Test Results 1. You misunderstood. This is my new friend. I was drunk last night. Thanks to him for taking care of me. He slept in the next room last night, not the same bed. Really? Wang Tianyu looked doubtful. Wait, that's not right? Jian Yuman's eyes fell on Wang Tianyu, who looked unhappy, and her eyes narrowed dangerously. Ho! Wang Tianyu, what do you mean? When you come in, you just ask questions. Even if I sleep with a man, it doesn't matter to you. At this moment, Wang Tianyu's expression is like that of a jealous and resentful husband who caught his woman cheating on her. People who don't know it think he is my boyfriend. For example, Bai Xia's eyes were looking at them as if they were young lovers quarreling, and he was silently asking with his eyes whether this was the boyfriend he said secretly gave birth to his daughter. I care about you too. Wang Tianyu's arrogance instantly dropped, and he felt depressed. Bixia. Jian Yuman put on her pants and walked to Bixia. Can you do me a favor and get the DNA test report of Tangyuj and the little girl? Jian Yuman thought for a long time, and still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. Maybe the child was not Tangyuj's. She needs a certificate to prove that the child is not his daughter. What if there is a misunderstanding? No problem. Bai Xia smiled handsomely and exchanged contact information in front of Wang Tianyu. Wang Tianyu looked at Jian Yuman with a look of resentment. He, a living person like him, was standing aside. She refused and went to find a stranger she had just met yesterday. At this moment, Tanyuj's call came in. As soon as Qian Yuman saw his phone, she had the urge to throw the phone. "Do you need me to pick it up for you?" Bai Xia asked kindly at this moment. "No need, you will have to face it sooner or later anyway." "What's the matter?" Qian Yuman said calmly. "Qian'er, where are you now? The men I sent to protect you said that you disappeared. Where did you run to?" After Tanyuj connected the phone, a bunch of concerns and inquiries stopped in her ears. He really very concerned about her appearance. When Qian Yuman came to the Magic City, she had already said hello to these stalkers, and she didn't tell Tanyuj to come over secretly for the time being. The group of followers reported to Tanyuj when Qian Yuman disappeared and couldn't be found after searching for several hours. "I was too tired of your subordinates, so I left them. I hope you're okay. I heard that you took a special leave to come to the Magic City to see me. Where are you now? I'll find you." Tanyuj's voice was pleasant. Qian Yuman's expression was depressed. She was not in the mood to meet him now. She was afraid that she would meet him, so she wanted to slap him. "No need, I met Tianyu here whom I haven't seen for a long time. I have made an appointment with him to go to country F in the past few days. You should be busy with your work and I won't disturb you. Goodbye." After giving a bunch of excuses, Qian Yuman hung up the phone. Tanyuj on the other end of the phone looked depressed. He actually hung up on him and abandoned him when he met Tianyu. It was really disgusting. Angry, he called again, but he didn't expect to be hung up immediately. "Really, she's afraid I won't let her go." Tanyuj looked at the phone with a smile. Tanyuj has always been very tolerant of this younger brother. Qian Yuman and Tianyu have a good relationship, which may promote the reconciliation of their brothers in the future. At this moment, Tanyuj knew nothing at all. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1276. Chapter 1276 Paternity Test Results 2. Tanyuj had no idea that their relationship was in a precarious situation. Once the paternity test was conducted and his relationship with Ruru was confirmed, their relationship would completely break down. However, he just doesn't know, so he can't solve it immediately. Qian Yuman went back to live in her own home. When the paternity test came out, Wang Tianyu naturally moved in next door and harassed Qian Yuman from time to time, leaving Qian Yuman with no time to calm down and feel sad. It takes 24 hours to wait for the report to come out. Qian Yuman has not had a smile on his face for the past 2 days. He has a sullen face all day long, his mind is full of possibilities, and he is going crazy. Although she didn't cry anymore, insomnia caught up with her. She hadn't closed her eyes for 24 hours and was in a state of fatigue. She is waiting for the paternity test to come out. Actually, there was a voice in her heart that kept telling her that the little girl was Mr. Tang's child, but she still had a little bit of hope in her heart, maybe not. The waiting time was particularly painful and unbearable. Qian Yuman lay there with a despairing heart, without taking a single bite of her meal. In these 24 hours, she could not eat, drink or sleep. It was like living in hell. The doorbell rang, and Qian Yuman jumped up from the bed and ran downstairs quickly. "It's Bai Xia who's coming." But the moment before opening the door, Qian Yuman was timid. She had a premonition in her heart that it was proof of the end of their relationship. She didn't dare to open the door, she didn't dare to pick up the appraisal certificate, she wanted to escape. The doorbell is still ringing, like a reminder. Forget it, she can't do this. If she needs to break off, she must break off. She can no longer hesitate to find fault for herself. With a deep sigh, Qian Yuman opened the door. The moment she opened the door, a large bouquet of roses appeared in her eyes, and they were still her favorite pink roses. She was stunned for a moment, and then she saw the blonde hair emerging from behind the rose, and then Kenny's handsome mixed-race face with a smile on his face. "Little funny boy, are you surprised?" Kenny smiled brightly and pushed the rose into Qian Yuman's arms. Qian Yuman looked down at the roses in a daze, feeling a little happy in her heart. What made her happy was not the verdict. "Little funny boy, what's wrong with you?" Kenny immediately noticed something was wrong with Qian Yuman. She didn't have a smile on her face. She had happily accepted the roses from him before, and even looked for a beautiful vase to put them in. "I got up and looked at the flowers in a daze today." "Kenny Appa." Seeing Kenny, Qian Yuman felt as if she had seen a safe harbor. She flew into his arms, hugged his waist and burst into tears. In the past 24 hours, she tried hard to suppress herself and not let herself cry, but the moment she saw Kenny, she couldn't bear it anymore and burst into tears in grievance. "What's going on? Weren't you in a good mood the past few days? Did something happen?" Kenny patted Qian Yuman and kept whispering comfort. Qian Yuman didn't care so much. She wiped her tears, nose, and mucus on him, just like when they first met. She used him as a harbor for crying, a handkerchief to wipe her tears, and cried wildly. Kenny patted Qian Yuman on the shoulder to comfort her. "What's wrong? Who the made my little Dobby sad? Tell me and I'll teach you a lesson." "What if I said it was Mr. Tang?" Qian Yuman murmured aggrievedly, her voice filled with aggrievedness. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dobby in the World. Chapter 1277. Chapter 1277 Paternity Test Results 3. "What if I said it was Mr. Tang?" Qian Yuman murmured aggrievedly, her voice filled with aggrievedness. If it was Tang Yuj, then he should be taught a lesson. He actually made Xiaodaobi angry. I immediately beat him until he was looking for teeth on the ground. He was so dizzy that he couldn't find Bei. Kenny's voice was low, with a hint of danger. He had already guessed that her state was obviously very sad due to Tang Yuj. "I knew that the best person in this world to me is Appa, Wuo," Qian Yuman cried louder, accusing while crying. "I found out yesterday that Mr. Tang actually has a daughter with Murong 11. I was deceived about my relationship, and he is a bastard." "Daughter? Tang Yuj?" Kenny frowned slightly, still a little unconvinced. "Really, I saw with my own eyes the children calling them daddy and mommy. The scene of their family of 3 together was so harmonious that I was superfluous beside them. After all this time, he never told me that he and Murong we are together again. Maybe we have never separated, they are just playing with my feelings. Little funny man, is there any misunderstanding? Tang Yuj doesn't seem like that kind of person." "Appa, don't speak for him. Wuo." She was so sad that she even made excuses for him. "I'm not trying to help him, I'm afraid there might be a misunderstanding between you." Kenny was relatively sensible. Although he didn't know Tang Yuj's detailed information and whether he and Murong 11 were married and had children, Tang Yuj's attitude towards her didn't seem like someone eating from a bowl while watching the pot. Cough cough cough. An uncoordinated cough sounded from the side. Bai Xia looked at the man and woman hugging each other and crying with amusement. It turns out that beauty has such a good rapport with the opposite sex. It seems that I don't have to worry about your falling out of love at all. You can always look for spring again. Qian Yuman was startled by the sudden sound. When she saw it was Bai Xia, her body instantly became stiff. What to do? It's Bai Xia, he's here to deliver a report. Bixia saw through Qian Yuman's thoughts and handed over the report in his hand. The report is out. I sent it here specially. Don't you want to read it? Qian Yuman was timid and shook her head quickly. She admitted that she was too timid to read the contents of the report. Kenny looked deeply and reached out to take it from Bishop's hand. Kenny looked at the paternity test report in his hand and gently touched Jian Yuman's head. "I'll read the report for you. No matter what the result is, what makes you sad is that it's not Tang Yuj. If the result is his child, I will never let him go." Kenny's eyes burst out with horror, and he quickly pulled out the report. The little funny boy who has always been regarded as a treasure, if he is really tricked by Tang Yuj, he will never let it go. The person he had always held in his hands was severely hurt by him. His only requirement is that she can be happy. If Tang Yuj can't do it, he will no longer bless her silently, but will take the initiative to give her happiness himself. Jian Yuman forgot about her nervous breathing and kept staring at Kenny's face, paying attention to his expression. I believe that the answer to the report can be guessed from the expression on his face. In fact, there is still a chance of luck in his mind. When she saw Kenny's expression changing, she already knew the answer in her heart. She didn't even need to read the information. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1278. Chapter 1278. Forget it, I'll marry you. 1. When Jian Yuman saw Kenny's expression changing, she already knew the answer in her heart. She didn't even need to read this information. The above content is bad news for her. Manman, this information. Kenny looked at the paternity test certificate in his hand that showed 99.99% of the relationship between biological father and daughter. For a moment, he didn't know what words to use to tell her the truth. "You don't need to say anything, I already know it." Tears welled up in her eyes. Her hands and feet were numb, as if they were no longer part of herself, and her heart was so painful that her breathing was painful. "Perhaps there is some misunderstanding. Why don't we go and ask in person?" Jian Yuman shook her head quickly, covered her face and cried sadly. "What are you asking about? How did you and Mirong 11 give birth to a lovely daughter? Or are you asking if he has already made a decision to choose between me and her?" Her self-esteem was too high to go and ask. She was not a cabbage for him to choose from. "But I always feel that there must be something wrong with this. Don't give him a death sentence too early." Kenny held him in his arms and comforted him softly. Although he wanted her very much, he wanted her to be happy even more. "Appa, please stop speaking for him. The evidence is in your hands. I am a person who can't tolerate a grain of sand in my eyes. Even if he and Mirong 11 are just friends now, I still can't accept him hiding my secrets." Matter. "Hey," Kenny sighed leisurely. "Then what do you want to do?" Her expression was very tangled. She was holding on tightly to the collar of her clothes, her mouth was trembling slightly, and her eyes fell on the parent-child book that fell on the ground. The red identification result stimulated her eyes. "I want to break up with him, leave his world completely, and never let him fool me again." Whether he deliberately concealed his past relationship with Mirong 11 or the relationship was still a couple, the relationship between them was completely over. To this day, his affectionate confession words are still echoing in her ears. She also clearly remembers that he said that he only understood his feelings for her after she left. "If you knew, why would you have children with other women? He clearly said he was not married, so what does it matter now?" She was deceived. All she could think of was that from the beginning, he might have been full of lies and everything he said was false. "As long as you decide something, I will support you." Kenny's ordinary words revealed the greatest affection and consideration. "Appa, why are you so nice to me?" Jian Yuman finally lost her tears. After hearing Kenny's words, she burst into tears in sadness. "Because you are my little tease." The smile on Kenny's face became gentler, and the doting smile was shining in Jian Yuman's eyes at this moment. This man really loved her terribly. Her eyes were always on Tang Yuj, and she was bruised all over in the end. She was not convinced, and she was also afraid. She was already afraid of pain, so why did she get hurt emotionally again and again? And he didn't learn his lesson and fell into the same pit twice. Why? Why is it not you that I love? Why is that hateful liar that I love? Appa. I'll marry you, you are the only one who is the best to me. Jian Yuman cried and wiped her tears. She even said the words about marrying Kenny, which made Kenny feel dazed for a while. Did he hear correctly? She said she wanted to marry him. Kenny, what? Have you been proposed to? Or agree to my original proposal, no matter what? Give me a good beating and see if it hurts. Am I dreaming? Mr. Tang, on the way to kill someone with a knife. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1279. Chapter 1279. Forget it, I'll marry you too. You. Although I really hope to marry you and go home, I still won't take your angry words seriously. Why? Am I not beautiful? Am I not good? Only when you are here will I not be hurt? It really hurts me. Why do I have to be scarred every time I have a relationship with him? Don't say frustrating things, I won't take it seriously. Kenny just thought that Jian Yuman said it to be frustrating, and he didn't really want to marry him at all. I don't know how to cry, I just want to be as heartbroken as my parents who died. Tisk, 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 please don't harm my Kenny. A very uncoordinated voice sounded from the door. When Jian Yuman heard this voice, she felt angry. However, because the loss of love made her even more sad, she still cried happily. For a bar. Bixia finished delivering the information and left silently, but the door was still open. Perhaps it was because the sound of Jian Yuman's crying was too unpleasant, or the decibel level was so high that it attracted Wang Tianyu, who was taking a nap next door. After coming over, he saw Jian Yuman holding his good brother Kenny and crying. At that moment, his mood was complicated and changed over and over again. Brother, are you going to get divorced? I think you should think about it carefully. This woman is a disaster, and it is better not to marry her. Wang Tianyu continued to sow discord coldly. I won't take it seriously. Kenny knew very well that he couldn't believe what she said now. If he really believed it, he would lose. Jian Yuman didn't bother to pay attention to their thoughts. She was so sad that it was too late to cry, and she had no energy to argue with them. In themselves, can they please stop flirting in front of him and comfort her? Jian Yuman was heartbroken, and Kenny and Wang Tianyu actually stayed at his house and refused to leave. Wang Tianyu's reason was that he was afraid that she would not be able to think clearly. What if something happened? Kenny's reason was to take good care of her because he was afraid she would be hungry. Not to mention, Jian Yuman had not eaten for a long time. She was really sad this time. She was so sad that she refused to eat or drink. She vomited out everything she ate. Kenny forced her to eat many times. Jian Yuman has been crying. No matter how much Wang Tianyu teases her and provokes her, she concentrates on crying. Her eyes are swollen from crying and narrowed into thin slits, but she is still crying. The two men were at a loss, and Kenny even hired a psychiatrist to enlighten Jian Yuman. She actually just needs time to hide in a corner and lick her wounds. She made it through the first time she left Mr. Tang, and she can make it this time too. It's just that this time, she will keep avoiding him. If there is no contact, she will not be sad, and she will not be unable to let him go. If necessary, she could even use the next relationship to heal her wounds, but it was too selfish to do so, so she never chose to do it. Afterwards, no one took her angry words about marrying Kenny seriously. However, Jian-Yuman still dug out the ring from her home that Kenny had given her when he proposed. The ring had been on her body and she had not given it back to Kenny. The most important thing is that Kenny is not willing to take it back, and she is reluctant to throw it away. After all, the ring is very expensive. Looking at the ring that was turned out, Jian-Yuman thought deeply about Kenny being so good. Should she try to develop a relationship with him? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1280. Chapter 1280. Let's break up. 1. Looking at the ring that was turned out, Jian-Yuman thought deeply about Kenny being so good. Should she try to develop a relationship with him? Maybe you won't fall in love with him. At least give Kenny, who has been silently protecting you, a chance? No, this is too selfish. If you don't fall in love, how awkward will it be to get along with you? Hurt others and hurt yourself. But thinking about that, Tangyuj, the tears that had finally stopped fell again. Tangyuj, who had no idea about Jian-Yuman's situation, searched for Jian-Yuman for several days and got the news that she returned to Paris yesterday. He almost rushed to the airport to find her, but luckily, in a few days, he will complete the preparations he should make, and he will be able to stay with him every day in Paris from now on. Tangyuj didn't know the situation and happily looked forward to better days. Be patient, the days of looking forward to being with his beloved woman every day soon ended, because Tangyuj received a text message that was a bolt from the blue for him. Let's break up. 5 simple words, an exclamation point, told the only thing Jian-Yuman wanted to say to Tangyuj at this moment. Tangyuj was in a meeting at the time and was in a good mood. His employees were also in a good mood. Because the chairman was in a good mood, their lives were easy. During the meeting, the chairman's phone vibrated slightly and a text message came in. He glanced at it casually and saw that it was a text message from Jian-Yuman. He happily opened the text message and read it as if no one else was around. This was like a bolt from the blue, unbelievable. I read a text message no less than 10 times and confirmed all the phone number notes. Finally, I concluded that the text message was really from Jian-Yuman. Tangyuj's expression was so obvious that other people in the meeting couldn't help but glance sideways, and the atmosphere became strange. What the hell? What kind of joke is this woman kidding? What's the date today? Tangyuj suddenly raised his head and asked the senior official. April 1 St. Tangyuj breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be April Fool's Day, which shocked him so much that he thought this woman was really crazy and wanted to break up with him. Tangyuj quickly edited the text message and replied to it. You want to play, right? Tangyuj is not someone to be scared of. Why did you split up? You yourself know why. You kept it secret from me for so long. It's a pity that I found out. Hide it? Tangyuj tilted his head. What a bad excuse. Oh. So what if I hide it from you? We need to break up, right? Then break up? No matter how cheap you are, Tangyuj finished editing the text message with a smile on his face and raised his eyebrows. Fighting with him, luckily he knew in advance that today was April Fool's Day, otherwise she would have tricked her. What he is doing now is called countermeasures. Let's see if she is anxious. Jian-Yuman, who had just gotten off the plane, thought about it and wanted to have a farewell ceremony, so she edited a text message and sent it to Tangyuj. As for Paris time, today is not April 1st, so there is no such thing as April Fool's Day. When Jian-Yuman saw the text message from Tangyuj, her heart was broken again, and she was in a trance while looking at the text message. You bitch, go to hell. Disappear from my life forever. If I forgive you, I will be a turtle bastard. Qian Yuman was so angry that she threw her cell phone to the ground, and it was instantly scrapped. The text message from Tanyuj still appeared in front of her eyes. His tone was so loud that he was not afraid of her knowing that he was just playing tricks on her emotionally, this emotional liar. Mr. Tang, Your Majesty, you are causing trouble. Are you a stepmother? Yes or no? Qian's ability to cause trouble was inherited from you, right? Right? End of this chapter.